Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. Recently, this article came out, and I believe it was April the 1st, April Fool's Day of all days. And it states here why more black women should consider marrying white men. And I looked at that and I was thinking, this is pretty telling. And it's very telling because of the wording. And inside the article were the usual people of today. And I mean by that, popular people. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and her husband. I guess they found some type of a way to use this particular event to promote their agenda. Then there's Kamala Harris, Vice President, and her husband. And then they have, who's this guy from Star Wars? And I cannot think of his name, but his wife. I want to say George Lucas. And then we have Jody Turner-Smith and Joshua Jackson. Now, that particular article, it states that more black women should consider marrying white men. And the writer, I'm not surprised at all, was a black man. Many times when they have an agenda to push, what they would do is that they will get skin folk. So it can kind of throw you off. However, I was not thrown off by this. This is the same tactic in which they used when they stated that black women were the least desirable, least attractive, and they used an Asian sociologist / writer to pen that article. So I'm not surprised that with this agenda, they're going to use someone black as a fall guy to take the blame for this article. But it goes right here. Desirable woman, it shouldn't be so complicated to love a black woman. Now, this is the article, and this is the sentiment of white men, how they really feel about black women. And it goes on to say, why black women and Asian men are at the disadvantage when it comes to online dating. But see, I want to point out something. Now, that particular article stated that more black women should consider dating or marrying white men. Okay, but you can't have it both ways. You cannot have a group of people, in this case right here, specifically black women, who you put at the bottom of the totem pole. Least desirable, least attractive, least willing to date and marry. And you're asking them to date and marry white men. That doesn't work for me at all. It sounds like a contradiction. It sounds like you're putting all the omnus, or you're putting all the blame, or you're putting all of the work on the black female to do that. That it's like she should go out there, run after, chase after, hunt down a group of men who find her least attractive. No woman should ever do that. If anything, you should be more respectful. And the audience, whether the article should emphasize maybe white men should seek out more black women to marry, date, and be companions with. Not put black women in that position. Because what it seemed like it's doing to me is that it's trying to take advantage of the black female's mentality. First of all, these articles right here are they're done for the sole purpose of breaking her down, mentally and emotionally. Take away her self-esteem, make her feel bad, make her feel like shit. So basically, then she would be so desperate that she would seek after a group of men who find her the least attractive. Now, is that all white men? I'm not saying it's all white men, but it's the vast majority. While 87% of black men are choosing black women. 97% of white men do not want a black woman. So therefore, I think that it's very strange and very unbecoming to expect black women to just all of a sudden drop all that they heard about white men and seek after them and start running after them and start desiring a group of men who as a whole does not desire them. That doesn't make any sense. And some of the reasons that you give, that the article gives, that I've heard in relation to this particular topic are foolish. Number one, what they're claiming is that there is a dearth of, in terms of numbers, that there's more black women than black men. Here's the problem with that. That may be true, but in the end, it kind of can even out because a third of black women identify as bisexual or lesbian. So within the LGBT community, you have more black women who are in that community than what you have black men. So yes, there are more black women who are bisexual or lesbian than you have black men who are bisexual or gay. Secondly, why aren't you encouraging black women to seek black partners from other countries? You don't have to be local. It doesn't have to be as far as Africa, or it could be Africa. It could be Jamaica. It could be the Caribbean. That's close by. See, that can level the playing field right there. It's strange that you're asking her specifically to seek out white men. And black women, this article is not done to help you out. It is not done to help you find a mate or a partner. It's strange that it emphasizes white men and it did not say, why don't you seek out other men, other cultures, nationalities, other than white? Why don't you seek out non-black partners? But the emphasis is put on white men. And the reason why that emphasis is put on white men and not others who are not white, there's a couple of factors. You can kill three birds with one stone. One has to do with the ongoing institutionalized racism, that you want to keep a hierarchy, a group of people on top. And what you do with that is that you make sure that the group who they are oppressing and suppressing, you make damn sure that they never unify. That's what you do right there. So this is going to keep black people separate, divided, and non-unified. You know, they speak of the black educational gap that black women have. And all this black educational gap that black women have is going to go to their offspring. These offspring, half black, half white, have a 90% chance of marrying out to other whites. So the other reason would be is that it strengthens their numbers. See, they're dying, they're dissipating, and they know this. So what better way to prolong this, to help them along, is to have black women and black people reproduce out. Because they know that these offspring more than likely will reproduce with other white people. And that will continue on that cycle until pretty much they're white again. Now, the other reason why is the old jealousy, competition, strife. White men, for the most part, do not like to play second fiddle to anyone. They do not like the idea of black women placing them at the bottom of the totem pole, placing them least desirable and least attractive. They don't have a problem with doing that to other races of people. As you can clearly see, that's how they feel about black women. But they do not like the idea of their arch enemy, arch adversary, black men being placed above them. And black women do place black men as the top of men who they find most attractive, most desirable, and who they want to marry. And white men don't like that. if you notice, they can be very competitive and very strifeful. Whenever you speak of, black men were the first men, black people were the first people, we went to this place first, that place first, you always get objections from white people. What does that tell you right there? They do not like being second. They do not like being after people. So this agenda has multiple angles. But let me tell you one thing. It is not for the angle of helping black women out. It's not for the betterment of black women. It's not to help black women find a good mate. What they're trying to promote, which is strange, is that somehow by them simply stating white men, that these white men are gods, that all you need is a white man. You're going to have this great, wonderful life that's a bed of roses with these white men, that they have no faults of their own, that they're going to treat you like queens, that they're going to elevate you somehow higher. All you need is a white man. And it's almost like it's this whole Jesus complex or Savior complex that only they can provide that. And let me tell you the detriment with that. And what's the whole thing with this notion of like skipping over your own to go out there to marry, procreate with someone else. We as black people know that we've been through slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, black codes, lynchings, civil rights, police brutality, the war on drugs. All of those have destroyed the black family. If you were really concerned about the needs and well-being of black women, then wouldn't you encourage her to build up her own community? Wouldn't you encourage her to stay within her own community and to heal that in some type of a way? To put the puzzles of the pieces back together that black people did not fracture and destroy in the first place. The very fact that you're asking someone who comes from a broken community to seek out others who don't really desire them shows me that you're not looking out for their well-being, that your motive is very nefarious. It's not genuine concern for black women. No, you're trying to use her because I believe that you have tapped in to something that is bruised, that is broken, that is insecure, that has a need. And what you are doing is that you are manipulating that to your own advantage. Some of us can see right through this particular game right there. And it's so obvious when you state white men and only white men, as opposed to saying other men. That should tell you a lot. And by the way, the statement that somehow there is a educational gap, and this is what we're concerned with as to why they should seek out others, because many a times white men are more comparable educational wise to black women, then why aren't you encouraging Asians to stick together and just marry their own? Since Asian men and Asian women comparably have the same educational structure, pretty much are the same educational level in terms of higher education. But yet you have no problem with the vast majority of Asian women preferring white men. You don't speak out to say that there's no need for Asian women to come there and to marry white men, because basically you guys are equal in terms of numbers. You're equal in terms of educational standards. So why don't you guys just marry each other? No, you don't do that because you love the idea of worship. You love the idea of people placing you first and foremost. That's what you love about Asians and other groups of people. and what you dislike about black women, and you're trying to put the blame on black men to splinter us. What you dislike about black women is that she placed you last on the totem pole at the very bottom, just the way that you place her. And you don't like that. It's okay for you to do it, but it's not okay for her to do it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all beyond and through.